if you Google elements of principal design or elements of principles of art, you might get multiple explanations of what they are, a different list. Okay? We've kind of picked the average. They will vary here and there a little bit, but not too much. So line. A line is a mark between 2 points. There are various types of lines, from straight to squiggly to curved and more. Lines can be used for a wide range of purposes, stressing a word or phrase, connecting content to one another, creating patterns, and more. Lines, okay? What you're going to be doing for your first assignment is you're going to be creating flashcards for each of these with no words, just creating something that represents each piece. So do pay attention. You have access to this presentation. Obviously, I'm not expecting you to write it down. You don't even have to take notes, but pay attention, okay? And then you can go back and look at it and make sure you're doing each little card right. Okay, that's what we're going to work on. We'll go over that. So line, pretty simple, right? Color. Color is used to generate emotions, define importance, create visual interest, and more. CMYK is subtractive, RGB is additive. We're going to go over an entire color theory next year. Some colors are warm and active, like reds, and some are cool and passive, such as blues. There are various color types and relationships worth learning about as well, which, again, we'll get into. So color is one of our elements because you can use color in a ton of different ways, obviously. Okay? You can use color to convey emotion. You can use color to create energy. You can use color to cool things down and calm things down. Okay? All kinds of different ways. So color is one of our elements. Texture. Texture relates to the surface on an object, the look or feel of it. Concrete has a rough texture. Drywall has a smooth texture. Using texture in design is a great way to add depth and visual interest. Printed material has actual texture, while screen material has implied. So, if you're lucky enough to print on different materials, you'll actually be able to create true actual texture. Most of us have to play with the idea of visual texture. So these 2 images that are up here could be put on the background of something that you print out, and they make you want to touch it. They make you that you can almost feel it. There are printers now that can actually print like sand onto something and create texture, which is really, really cool. All right. There's thermography, which allows you to actually print raised type, which I'm sure you've seen before, like on business cards, things like that. Okay? So there's implied and there's real texture. So texture is one of our elements. Shape. Height plus width equals shape. We all learned basic shapes in grade school: triangles, square, circle, and rectangle. Odd or lesser seen shapes can be used to attract attention. There are 3 basic types of shape. Geometric, which are your simple triangles, squares, circles, all that. Natural, such as leaves, animals, trees, people. And abstracted, which is icons, stylizations, and graphic representations. So all 3 you see up here. So a shape is basically a line that is connected. All right? So shapes are made from lines. See how that kind of works? All right? So as long as if you just draw this, that's a line. If you draw a circle, it's a shape. Size or scale. All right? Size is how small or large something is. A small shirt versus an extra large shirt, for example. Use size to define importance, create visual interest in a design, like using contrasting sizes, attract attention, and more. So size and scale, if something's bigger than something else, it generally means it's what? Don't just say bigger. More important, right? You make something large, you want somebody to look at it first, right? Okay?
Draw more attention.
Draw more attention. Down at the bottom, would you say that creates motion? Right? A little bit? Okay, so you can use scale and size, all right, to really create some interesting things. That's going to be your challenge for this particular piece, is to be creative with it. All right? Then there's value. Value is how light or dark an area looks. A gradient is a great way to visualize value. Everything from dark to white, all the shades in between, has value. Use value to create depth and light, to create a pattern. Okay, so value is how much or more a color is. All right, so if you look at this value scale, you'll notice the more stronger the value is, the more contrast you create, the more interesting it can be at times. All right, so value. Space. This one's really important. It's not like space. It's space. Okay? Too many times, and you'll see it, because you know who really does it really a lot? Teachers. They want to take the piece of paper and put as much as they can on it. Possible. Question?
Doesn't
Correct. That's one of the Escher's pieces right there. Yep. So space is the area around or between elements in a design. It can be used to separate or group information. Use it effectively to give the eye a rest, define importance, lead the eye through a design, and more. So you'll look at these, and graphic designers define space, like empty space with nothing in it, as white space. It doesn't mean it's white. Could be green, could be black, could be yellow. But white space in our terms is something that doesn't have anything there. You'll notice these three pieces I put up there use white space in a creative way. In other words, that blank area there is a fork. Okay? There's nothing there. But they use that blank space to actually create the visual that there is something there. Okay? You're going to talk about space in terms of how far you put things apart, evenly spacing things, okay? Where you put things. So you might have a picture of a cat, right? But you put the information of the cat down here. That doesn't make sense, okay? Which also talks about alignment, right? But space. Space is really important, giving your viewer some breath in the piece. If you take a document and you jam as much information as possible, it's going to overload people. So space. Okay, so those are our elements. Again, this isn't rocket science, which I find to be really nice, because if I was teaching rocket science, it would be very, very bad. Okay? Any questions about the elements? You're going to get to apply these very shortly. Okay? Now we're going to get into our principles, which combine the elements. So contrast. This is huge. You're going to hear me use contrast a lot. Unique elements in a design should stand apart from one another. One way to do this is to use contrast. Good contrast in a design, which can be achieved using elements like color, tone, size, and more, allows the viewer's eye to flow naturally. So, color can be size, contrast can be value, contrast can be color, contrast can be space, all right? You create contrast, simply put, by the difference between two things. How you make that difference is really up to you, all right? But you have all of those different ways to make contrast. Most commonly, contrast you'll see is in color, right? Down below, you see this example. It's red and white because it sticks out. All right? Alignment. Proper alignment in a design means that every element in it is visually connected to another element. Alignment allows for cohesiveness. Nothing feels out of place or disconnected when alignment has been handled well. So what this means is basically there's a purpose for everywhere you put something. If you're working on a piece and I say to you, why'd you put that there? And you go, I don't know. That's not good. Okay? Basic alignment is really, really key to when you first start out as a designer, even if it is basic. All right? Pattern. A pattern is a repetition or repeating of an object or symbol all over the work of art or design. Now with patterns, all right, you can use your color, you can use your space, you can use your contrast to create pattern. All right, this is how they kind of all intertwine. Proximity. Proximity allows for visual unity in a design. Basically, proximity is this. Things that are supposed to go together are together. Okay? That way, you minimize any type of issues with space. You minimize any issues overall with organization of your layout. Okay? So proximity and alignment kind of go together. Everything that's about one particular topic should all kind of be together. Balance. Balance is distribution of visual weight of objects, colors, textures, and space. If the design was a scale, these elements should be balanced to make design feel stable. In symmetrical balance, the elements used on the side, one side of the design are similar to those in the other. Symmetrical balance. Here. Okay? Asymmetrical balance, the sides are different but still look balanced. Asymmetrical. See the difference? Jordan, you actually have to look at the screen to see the difference?
I already saw it.
Okay? And radial balance. The elements are arranged around a central point, like a flower. All right? Balance, space, alignment, proximity, all huge to design. And these are the things, when we do our poster design, that you're going to have to represent. Because they're so important in being able to create a good design. That's what separates good design from bad design. You guys could bring in examples of design and be like, what do you think of this? And we could talk about why it's bad, and it has nothing to do with the artwork that's created. All right? It has to do with how it's laid out and how it's put together. All right, any questions?